The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth alongside Phil Duvall. Say hi, Phil.
Hi, Andy, and hi, nation of Second Breakfasters.
Happy New Year. Sort of.
Andy, come on, it's a special day today. Happy half birthday to me.
Happy half birthday to you.
There's something else about this day. What is it? I forget. Happy birthday, Andy.
Thank you. It's an exciting day. I am 35 today. I can finally run for president.
I was thinking about that. This is the year I can finally run for president.
Yeah, the long national nightmare is over.
I think we're finally going to get our stuff together as a country.
Right. That's right.
I really think that.
A ticket of you and me would be awesome.
Well, first of all, it would cross political boundaries.
It's true.
And that, I think, is what our country needs.
I agree.
So I'm for. I mean, I don't know if it really needs that. I don't know how that actually works, but I like the idea of it. Like, I don't understand how two totally competing governing ideas could come together, but I do. I like the idea. I remember that brief glimmering moment in 2008 when it looked like McCain was actually going to ask Joe Lieberman to be his running mate.
Sure.
And I remember just being like, if this is the death of his career, it still would be the most brilliant thing he ever did. And instead, he did something.
He went another way.
Different. He went a different way.
He looked at that path and he went another way.
But you know, Andy, to Senator McCain, to you, and to me, and to the nation, I say, clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
Yep. That's our slogan. That's it.
That's it. That's right? The whole kit and caboodle, all right there.
And you know what? That's a winning platform.
If I was going to run for president, it would just be clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. And I'd get people chanting it and all that stuff. Because it's much like, I thought, someone pointed it out to me. And by the way, this was someone who voted for Barack Obama. He loves Barack Obama. He was the one who pointed out that when Barack Obama first ran for president, he totally went underhanded because his slogan was hope. And he's like, how do you run against hope?
That's right.
Like
That's right.
How do you say like, hope? What a terrible thing to have.
That's right. That's right.
So if you and I were going to run, we just run on clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. And if someone's like,
and then
I don't believe that you should have a clear eyes or full hearts.
Right.
What?
And then it opens up possibilities of like having like Coach and Mrs. Taylor in her cabinet somewhere. You know?
Well, yeah. Unless they were just like cease and desist, really, is what getting.
Right.
I think it was Bob Dole who started using "I won't back down" on the campaign trail, and Tom Petty was like, "No, go ahead and stop doing that. I'm not going to vote for you. Don't do that." Yeah. Nope.
So, folks, you might hear us and realize that we're stalling, and I think we are stalling, and the reason is this is a big day, not just because it's Phil's half birthday, but because this is when we put an entire year to bed. Go to sleep.
Oh, wow.
2013.
Go to sleep 2013. Wow. Well said, Andy Roth.
You know, we're taking a look back.
Yeah.
We're gonna throw some numbers at you, some statistics, some metrics.
Yeah.
About and basically the theme of all of these numbers is Phil and I have too much time on our hands.
Yes.
Yes. But then we're going to talk about, our top 10s, honorable mentions, stuff like that. And I mean, it's time. We're rebels not because we're doing a top 10 list, because everyone does one. We're rebels for waiting until the middle of January.
Can I say something? Everyone does one, except for the Academy, which apparently does a top 9.
That's right. Top 9. But Phil, there were only 9 movies released this year.
I'm so angry.
I know you are. We'll get there.
Are we going to get there? Do I get to be angry on international television, or is that happening?
Well, I mean, I think likelihood we'll probably be angry more than once because we can be angry now, and then when the Oscars come around, we'll probably be angry again. I'm not going to be less angry about it by the time the Oscars come around.
Okay, can I just say one thing about it?
Can I finish? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say literally one thing.
Say the one thing.
The Oscars succeeded this year in reminding me reminding me emphatically why I think awards for movies is a terrible idea. That's all I really want to say.
Okay.
But it was emphatic. It was like, wait a minute.
Sure.
Why do I fall even stuff like us doing the last year we did that podcast no, we went on Facebook and we like
Yeah.
just live chatted
Yes. Yes.
the Oscars.
Yep.
Like I don't know if I'll feel. I mean, we might do that again this year because it was so much fun.
Right.
But part of me is like, I don't even want to lend it
Right.
that much attention. But
Yeah.
we're gonna because we are who we are.
We are.
And
That's precisely
fall
right.
for it.
That's precisely
like
right.
the fact that I'm angry proves that I haven't gotten over the whole thing.
Right. Right. If we were sitting here like, then
What's funny is the movie that I'm angriest about isn't actually even maybe not my favorite. It might not be my favorite movie of the year.
sure. Okay.
It's just to me like the most obvious,
Right.
glaring omission.
Oh, sure.
So, all right. With
That's
that
not
being
even
said-
the movie I'm angriest about. Although I know that I'm tilting at windmills about mine, so it is what it is.
Is yours The World's End?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
So what
For
do you-
Best
what do you-
Picture? Come on. I knew
Like,
that was
you
never
just said
gonna
you were
happen.
screaming at windmills, so what do I know? So what
I mean, take your pick between Mud or Short Term 12.
Okay, yeah, ditto. No,
Yeah.
no, the one I'm angriest about is certainly Inside Llewyn Davis, but
Right. Right.
that's because it's just such an obvious to me it's like obvious.
No,
but
totally.
but the other two you listed are like, you know how I feel about them.
Phil, I do. I do.
Like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So, folks, we're going to pause this conversation here. Tune in early March, where we no doubt have
Get
this
furious.
conversation again. Right.
Get furious. All right.
Mostly
But
because-
today we're going to talk about how many movies we saw last year. We're going to talk about what our favorite movies from last year were. We're going to talk about what our some of our favorite movies. And I think what I noticed, Andy, in compiling my list is how incomplete this is.
Yeah.
Our friend Daniel Carlson, who we mention quite often, I hope that it gets him increased traffic and someday gets him lots of money just from us talking about him. Our friend Daniel Carlson is a writer for a website called Pajiba, PAJIBA.com, and he was talking about, recently he wrote an article about how anything that says like this many movies that you need to see before you die or 20 movies you need to see before you die is just ridiculous because it creates an idea that somehow if you saw them, then your film career could be complete.
Right.
And the reality is there's movies that I haven't seen yet. I haven't seen 12 Years a Slave. I haven't seen All Is Lost. I haven't seen The Butler. I haven't seen Philomena. I haven't seen Enough Said. I mean, I haven't seen Blue Jasmine, blah, blah, blah. I tried to see One Single Shot, the Sam, what's that guy's name? Dude, the guy we love.
Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell movie. I decided I was on a plane. I was getting on a plane. I was on an airplane at the airport, and I decided to download a movie, and it was on. I could rent it for $1.
Nice.
So I rented it, and then it took like 4 hours to download, and I didn't. And I literally there was 10 minutes left when I had to get on the plane. I was like, fine, I won't watch that movie then. Anyways, so there's a ton of
that'll
movies.
show it.
So there's a ton of movies I haven't seen.
Yeah.
And I have seen many less movies in the theater than you have this past year.
Yep.
So right away, it's like our lists are our lists. We're not definitive. They're not definitive. There's no such thing as definitive. I think actually, I used to think us doing this list means that we think there's a definitive list of movies for 2013. But the reality is, I think it's actually the opposite. By doing this list right now, regardless of what we've seen or haven't seen, we're saying there's really no way we could decide definitively what the best movies of 2013 are.
Speak for yourself. No, that's totally right. That's totally right. I totally agree with you.
Okay.
There are movies, stunningly, believe it or not, folks, there are movies that I wanted to see in the theater and then I didn't. All Is Lost, absolutely. Captain Phillips, I didn't see. The Butler, I didn't see. A Single Shot, I would have loved to have seen that. Philomena, I didn't see. You miss stuff. You miss stuff, and that was and you can either let it tear you up, or you can say, you know what, you can. And this sounds all Pollyanna-ish and lame, but like you can either let it tear you up, or you can just rejoice in the things that you saw. And quite frankly, second Breakfast Nation, I was talking to Phil before we started recording, and last year, the last time we did this, I had a good 11 or 12 movies. I was like, I really want to get these in my top 10. So there were a couple of really hard choices. There were like 15, maybe more movies that spent time in my top 10. And I don't mean like as I saw them. I mean as I was doing this exercise. So fully half, again, of the list I had to make a serious, difficult decision about. And you know what that means to me? That means I had an amazing time at the theaters this year. You know what I mean? That means I had an amazing time at the movies.
No, see, that's the thing. That's the thing.
Yes.
So I am hoping to have, and I'm hoping the next year I see even more movies, not so that I can tally more, but just because Andy, I didn't go see a new movie in the theaters until March.
Wow.
And I've only seen one in the theaters so far this year. Oh wait, that's not true. Let me rephrase. I didn't see a 2013 movie until March.
Right. No, I got you. Oh, I see.
So I don't know how many from 2012 I saw in January and February, but not much.
So you might have gone to the theater to see like Zero Dark 30 or something.
I saw Rise of the Guardians. I saw Not Fade Away. I saw a couple.
Okay. All right. Shall we dive in?
Yes. I literally just looked at a movie and was like, what was that movie that I saw? I don't remember.
Awesome. Let's start with the big number. How many movies did you see in 2013?
In 2013, I saw... Hold on. Darn it. Let me get to the other list. In 2013, I saw 234 movies.
Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. And you?
I saw more than you, but not nearly as many more as you would think.
Well, you saw way more than me in the theaters.
That's probably true. Total movies in 2013, I saw 259 movies.
Oh my gosh, we're really close to each other.
I know. I also fell off precipitously towards the end.
Oh my gosh, have a kid, why don't you? And see what that does.
It's fair. That's fair.
I've seen 3 new movies in the last month and a half. That's fair.
I
haven't even seen a movie. I saw Wolf of Wall Street a couple weeks ago. I haven't seen a movie. I haven't seen, not theaters, home, anywhere, in the last week and a half.
Well, to be fair, Wolf of Wall Street's as long as 2 movies. So,
oh God, I want to see it again right now.
I know. That's not a complaint. That's not a... Folks, if you haven't seen Wolf of Wall Street, see it. How many movies did you see in the theater in 2013, Phil?
I saw 50 movies in the theater in 2013.
50 movies.
Which, it's so close to being one a week.
Yeah, no, totally. Well done. I did see many more than you.
Yes.
I saw 95 movies in the theater.
Now, are you counting when you saw Pacific Rim 17 times in the theaters? Are you counting every single time you saw it?
Here's the deal. I am, but looking back at 2013, I only doubled up on 5 movies.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure if I counted my doubles. I think I did.
Right. So, like...
but it wouldn't change much.
Right.
It'd be like 55 instead of 50.
Right, and I'd be 90 instead of 95.
Right.
So which honestly, that's weird for me. Most of the time, I mean, you know this. I'm a multi-timer. At like Moonrise Kingdom, I saw 3 or 4 times in the theater. Right. Pacific Rim, once.
Oh, okay.
You know what movie I saw more than any other in the theater in 2013?
The World's End. The World's End. Really?
Man of Steel.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I saw more than once, and it's not even on my.
No, it's nowhere. This is the only time I will mention it in this podcast. So that people don't have to do the quick burst of mental arithmetic, Phil, how many movies did you see not in the theater, on video or streaming in 2013?
I saw 110 movies. Not in the theater. No, I'm sorry, 184 movies, not in the theaters.
Well done. Well done there. Beats me. I saw 164 movies.
Well, that's that. It had to happen somewhere.
That's right. That's right. How many movies did you see that you had seen before?
110. 110 movies that I'd seen before I saw again.
Nice. For me, 113 movies I rewatched.
You son of a...
And Phil, how many movies did you see for the first time in 2013?
How many movies did I see for the first time? And that means movies I've never seen before.
Yes.
Wait, hold on. We did that category already.
Nope.
Wait. How many movies that I've never seen before?
Okay.
What was the question?
That you have never seen before. Saw for the first time.
I thought we answered that already.
No, I think you may have answered that for the how
By
many.
accident.
Yes.
I
So Phil, how many movies did you see not in the theater?
100 and 100 oh, 184 not in the theaters.
Okay.
How many have I seen that I'd never seen before?
Yeah.
124. That was the
Okay.
I haven't said that yet.
Okay,
Wow.
good.
Andy,
Okay.
this is a lot of numbers. Math is not my strong suit.
Folks, we're a priest and a lawyer here. We're not. We don't. We chose these specifically. We chose these careers because we don't like math. Okay, movies that I saw for the first time. I saw 146 movies that were new to me.
Okay. That's
Now-
ridiculous.
I know. That's
That's
absurd.
ridiculous.
I know. It's I'm proud of that, and it's also like, get a life. Anyway.
You're preshamed.
I am. I'm humble bragging myself.
Yeah.
So, Phil, how many movies that were? You have an answer for this question. I don't have an answer for this question because I.
Can I say something really quick?
Please do.
I actually think that's the exact I don't know what the opposite of a humble brag is, but a humble brag is when you're trying to sound humble but you're really bragging. You were trying to brag but you really felt really gross about yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
It's like whatever the opposite of the humble
Right.
brag is,
A
but
brag
that's what you were
humble.
doing.
A
Right,
rumble.
right.
It was a rumble.
Shamble brag. All right, so
How many movies made in the year 2012 did you see in 2013?
I'm glad you asked. I saw 31 movies from 2012. And the
Well
reason
done.
that I did this, that I tallied this,
Okay.
is because I was looking through my list at the beginning of the year and I was realizing, wow, there's so many movies from 2012. And I was trying to figure out, last year I was calculating how many movies I saw last year, rather in 2012. I was like, wow, I haven't seen a lot of movies from 2012. But then I started to keep looking at my list and I was like, oh, I see a lot of them the next year.
Right.
So I saw 38 movies from 2013, but I saw 31 from 2012 this year.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's interesting. It was interesting to me to see that I catch up on the previous year. I guess that's really not that interesting. It's probably what America does. I think it was
Sure.
a lot more usual back when we had video stores and people
Right.
would go rent videos that
Agreed.
just came out.
Agreed.
Video stores need to come back.
So did you just let slip the answer to the next question? How many 2013 movies did you see?
Did 38.
38. Okay.
I actually saw 39. These are new discrete movies. I'm not counting rewatches.
Right.
I saw 39 if you count Wolf of Wall Street, but I didn't see Wolf of Wall Street till 2014.
Nice.
So in 2013, I saw 38 movies that were made that year.
In 2013,
Oh my gosh.
I saw 85 2013 movies.
Jeez. You're like,
I think that's the number I'm most proud of, actually. I
I
think that's...
feel like you're Drago and I'm just watching you. And I think in 2013, I was probably Apollo Creed. And
Phil, I must break you.
I'm praying. I'm
I must
praying.
break you. I must break you.
Go for it. I'm praying that I become Rocky Balboa in 2014.
Sure.
Because in 2013, I was Apollo Creed and you just crushed me.
Well, hey. I mean...
Or maybe like I'm Rocky 2 from the first fight and you're Clubber Lang, and then maybe I'll come back.
That's Rocky 3. Although you'd be forgiven about...
You're right, Rocky 3.
Although
You're
you'd be
right.
forgiven for just totally forgetting Rocky 2 because it was terrible.
Rocky 3 is amazing.
Sure.
Rocky 3 was the first movie where you were like, wow, heavyweights can just punch each other in the face 1,000 times and no one falls down.
Which is totally true, because that's
Right.
Because
It
that's
also had-
totally how boxing works.
It also had Hulk Hogan, obviously.
Obviously.
All right, let's get to work.
Let's get to work. So, we're gonna start, folks. You know, we don't usually like dwelling on the bad. We're positive people. Positivity counts. But we're gonna talk about the worst movie that we saw in 2013. Do you want to go, or do you want me to go?
We could go at the same time.
Well, I actually have a dishonorable mention.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Still, though.
Shall
the worst
I?
movie.
Oh,
Please.
The
No,
worst-
go ahead.
The dishonorable mention. Machete Kills.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Didn't make your worst movie you saw list?
Here's the deal. This was not a bad enough movie to make me want to redo. So, folks, in case you're just joining us, where the hell have you been? But in case
Right.
you're just joining us, Phil and I completed in 2013 our what will undoubtedly the alien researchers that find these recordings 30,000 years from now will look at Project Melway as our signature achievement. We watched in chronological order all of Mel Gibson's movies, and then we had an award ceremony for it, the Melgies, and we gave the worst movie award, which was called the Melgie Award for Biggest Melgret, went to a little film called Mrs. Sofel, which is just terrible. It is terrible, and it had no reason to be bad because everyone in it is good, but it was awful. Machete Kills would not would not have taken down Mrs. Sofel, but it absolutely would have been nominated for Biggest Melgret.
Wow.
Was that your worst movie? Was that your worst movie in 2013?
Machete Kills?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't... I'm looking at the list and just trying. There's nothing even that... There's nothing... Andy, that's the worst movie I've seen in 5 or 6 years. There's movies that I watched in 2013 that I didn't like or didn't care.
Right.
I've been thinking a lot about Delivery Man lately. Because
so
it represents...
You're the one who's been thinking a lot about
because it
Delivery Man
represents something to me, okay?
Okay.
It represents to me this reality that I it's the kind of movie I will spend money on and watch and laugh at and say, that wasn't so bad, and it had some good moments, and I was really this and that, and Vince Vaughn. And then I see a movie like Wolf of Wall Street, which is a comedy that just devastates me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, or even just go back and watch Swingers, and you're like,
yeah.
there
What's going on?
There aren't very many good comedies, and this movie that I saw that I put up with and told myself was good, just forget it.
Yeah.
Just
well
what are we doing here? So that's all I mean by that.
Well said. The worst movie, and Phil, you're forgiven for forgetting this movie, but the worst movie that I saw in 2013, which I know you didn't see, A Good Day to Die Hard.
Oh.
This movie is so bad. If Die Hard weren't the single greatest action movie of all time, this movie would make that movie worse. Just by its existence. And I hate that. I hate like when people when there's a remake of a movie that I don't want to be remade or something like that, or a sequel that doesn't need a sequel, that annoys me. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because it doesn't reflect on the original movie. All right? I am breaking my rule. That is how bad this movie is. It is like someone who doesn't speak English saw not even Die Hard, but the fourth Die Hard, and tried to make it again while high. Because things are funny, things are supposed to be funny, and it's not even like, oh, that tried to be funny and it failed. It was like, wait, I don't understand what happened, and then 5 minutes later, you're still dwelling on it while something else stupid is happening on the screen. Like, oh, I finally understand what happened. They were trying to make a joke, and it failed. Like, it's not like they failed at humor. They failed at the concept of humor.
Yeah.
And the action was sterile. He has become Superman. He might as well be a Marvel character. The beauty of the first one. You want to know why Die Hard is the greatest action movie of all time? It isn't because, after having seen this movie more than 30 or 40 times, I am still excited by the action. It's because of the scene where he is bleeding and wounded and crying into a walkie-talkie in the bathroom. That is why. And it's not just because it rounds out the character, although that's certainly most of it. It's also that there are stakes, and not just stakes like, will he find his wife? Will he beat the bad guys? Will he die?
But, that's the thing, and I think beyond that, there is the question of if he will live or not, and there's not that question in the Die Hard franchise anymore. But beyond that, you have this feeling of, you just said, because it gives his character, rounds out the character.
Yeah.
You don't get the feeling when you're watching Die Hard that they do anything for the sake of rounding out the character. You just think he's a character.
Yes.
There are things that they do in movies where you'll watch and you're like, all right, so we need a romantic subplot.
Right.
Okay, we need to figure out a way to round out this character because he's a little bit too this. All right, we'll give him a tick. We'll give him a nervous tick. That's not this movie at all. That's not Die Hard. So I will never see A Good Day to Die Hard. I am ashamed of you for having seen it.
You should be. I am ashamed as well.
So I guess my question is, when they make the next one, will you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason is, it literally can't be worse. Like,
wow.
If it gets worse, we're into like Manos Hands of Fate, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians,
wow.
The Room territory. If it gets any worse.
Wow. Gauntlet Throne.
Yeah.
Gauntlet Throne.
Gauntlet Throne. Bruce Willis. Can you make a worse movie? I have to stop talking about this. And luckily, Phil, what we're talking about next. The best movies of 2013.
Good.
Our favorites.
Because Machete Kills was so awful.
It was so bad. So bad.
I don't know if you hadn't listened to our podcast where we talked about it. It was so bad that I pulled out my phone and started playing solitaire in the theater on my phone. And I don't pull my phone out during movies.
No,
and
it'll get you shot in Florida.
Oh my gosh. I think everything will get you shot in Florida.
That's true. Not pulling out your phone will get you shot in Florida.
It's true, but I think yeah, that was just the way that was going to go down.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I mean, there was other people in the theater, and I just held my phone and looked at it, and I knew that they couldn't see it, and I wasn't getting in trouble. It didn't matter. There were only 2 other people there.
Right.
Because who would see this movie?
Right.
Ugh,
my response to that is this: my favorite part of Machete Kills was the 5 minutes I fell asleep.
Oh God.
I woke. I was like, "How long was I asleep?" Oh, only about 5 minutes. Well, that's 5 minutes I didn't have to watch.
Oh, it's a shame.
And still better than A Good Day to Die Hard. If that doesn't put that on the poster, Danny Trejo.
Oh my gosh.
Robert Rodriguez, shame on you. Okay, top 10 movies of 2013.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk about this.
Now, folks, we're not going to rank. We're not going from 10 up to 1. This is alphabetical order, baby. No numbers. All right.
That's right.
All right. You're right there.
That's right.
You're right there.
Sorry, I got a little excited and then I yawned, which it seems like the opposite of excitement, but trust me when I say.
Baby need a nap. Okay.
A little bit.
I'll start. I'll give my first. And
please.
Then and then okay. My first top 10 movie of 2013. Again, alphabetical order. Before Midnight.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Folks, you will see, because Hollywood knows what you like, you will see romantic movies this year. And it is a credit to other movies on this list that this movie is not absolutely the most romantic movie of the year. It might still be. But it is such a real, honest, and truly romantic, not manufactured romance, but truly romantic look at what it takes to sustain a relationship when the bloom is off the rose. Because the honeymoon period doesn't last. And for those of you who don't know what it is the third in a... Nice. It is the third in a series that started with Before Sunrise, continued with Before Sunset, and now is Before Midnight. It's the same 2 characters, the same 2 actors. And the first 2 movies were, oh my God, I can't believe how much I love this person, blah, blah. And they're wonderful. I do not say that to belittle them or downplay their magnificence. They are truly magnificent. They are the best movies of Richard Linklater's career. Okay? Mm-hmm. You decide for yourself how much that means. But they are glorious. And this might be the best movie of the 3. It is.
Well, I saw Before Sunrise when I was in high school when it came out.
Yep.
And I didn't care one way or the other. It was fine, but it was, I think a little bit I wasn't ready for it. And so when this Before Midnight came out and people went, but Before Sunset came out and people went all nuts about it, but I was like, meh. Right. So then Before Midnight came out, and then you, among other people, but you especially went totally bug nuts about it, and I was like, all right. So I went back and saw Before Sunrise again as an adult.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, all right. And now I'm just waiting for them to show Before Sunset so that I can tape that, and then yeah. Okay.
All right. You got me.
I'm looking forward to seeing Before Midnight, but I haven't seen it. Okay, my first movie.
Yes. Shoot.
From my top 10, alphabetical order.
Shoot.
Starts with an F.
Okay.
Ends with a Rosen. It's Frozen. If you had told me at the beginning of the year, when I look at my list, well, there's a couple movies that I just didn't know were going to happen.
Sure. Right.
But when you told me, if you and I looked at all of the movies slated to come out in 2014, we could make our perspective 20
Right.
like top 10.
Yep.
This movie would have been like, nope.
Right.
Top. I saw 38 movies. I saw essentially 40 movies this year, and I would say, so really to be in my top 10, you have to be like, you got a 1/4 chance. But there's no way I would have put this movie in that
That's right.
category.
That's right.
It
Yep.
is so. Andy, I bought the soundtrack last week.
I know you did. I know you
And
did.
I sing it and get all quivery in my voice like a little high school girl, and it
I
is.
love
I can't say enough about this movie, so I won't because we've already done a podcast on it. So Frozen.
It did not make my list. Spoiler.
Okay.
It didn't make my list.
Okay.
That is a testament to how strong the year was. That is
Right.
literally zero comment on this movie. This
Got
movie is glorious.
Yep.
I find myself singing the soundtrack, and I don't have the soundtrack, so most of what I'm doing is da 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 da
Right,
because I don't
right,
know
right.
the songs, but I have to sing them. They are.
Yeah.
It is compulsive in that way, and as beautiful as the sound as the songs are, you could take them out and still have one of the best movies of the year. Because it is because like all the best musicals, it's a good movie first.
Yeah. You're right.
You know?
You're right. I know you're right. All right. So am I going twice?
You're
Is that how we're
going
doing
twice.
this?
Hit me.
The
Hit me
next
again.
movie in alphabetical order on my
Okay.
list is a little film by the name of Gravity.
Okay. Okay.
Which I'm not sure if you're supposed to call it Gravity or Gravity 3D IMAX. I don't remember. It's like Lee Daniels, the butler. Lee Daniels from a book by this person.
Right from the book Sapphire
By Precious by Sapphire.
That's
Right.
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 That's
Right. Right. All
Ah,
right.
yes.
So, okay. Gravity. I am so excited when I look at this list of mine, and this is one of the reasons why this is a movie that there's so many perfect movies on my list,
Yes.
and this is one of them, and it makes me happy to look at a list where I said to you before we started that there were, of my 10, there were 9 that I knew were going on the list immediately.
Yep.
And then I had to think to figure out what to put in that 10th spot, not because I didn't like things, but because there was, to me, but there were literally 9 movies that I just straight loved. And
Yep.
Gravity, is everything that a movie could be, and in 90 minutes.
I love
And
it.
it established Alfonso Cuarón for me as the go-to guy for myth making in our current filmmakers.
Nice.
So-
Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
Gravity. Literally the hardest omission from my top 10.
Your top 10 is terrible.
Let me finish.
Okay.
In terms of movie-going experiences, if I were making a list of movie-going experiences, and obviously, like the top 10 movies of 2013, you defined it a certain way, I defined it clearly at least slightly differently. But if we were setting out to say the top 10 movie-going experiences of 2013, my top 10 might be a top 1, and the list would be Gravity. Like, it is...
I don't know how that doesn't make your list then. I really don't.
Because
Just by that
honestly,
alone.
Phil, because it might be in my opinion, if you look at it as a movie, as wonderful as it is, it might be the 3rd best science fiction movie I saw this year. And so there were just other movies that had to be on it. There were just other, I almost started this podcast by saying, surprise Phil, I have to have a top 11 just to put Gravity on. It was that close.
Right.
And it kills me. It kills me. But I couldn't not put the movies that went on there. And and it's because my eyeballs were dazzled. But this was a movie that I saw multiple times.
Yeah.
And something about the story was only... and seriously, this is how hard it was. It was only amazing to me and not functionally perfect. I know that I'm picking nits, and all I can say is, again, this was the hardest omission for me. So hard.
You're lucky we don't live in Florida, my friend. All right,
So
what's
I'm
your
going-
so you got 2 to go. Do 2.
So maybe only the second best science fiction movie I saw this year. Her.
Yep.
Maybe the best.
Yep.
Folks, I don't think it's an accident that the first 2 movies, well, no, it's totally an accident because it's in alphabetical order. But I like the fact that the first 2 movies that I'm listing, Before Midnight and Her, are absolutely the 2 most romantic movies of the year. They are... Her, I've seen people uniformly who have not seen it, because once people see it, the scales fall from their eyes and they see the light. People who have not seen this movie laugh about it as, oh, a dude falls in love with Siri, or Scarlett Johansson's so hot you could just fall in love with her voice, and blah 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 blah. And
both accurate.
Perhaps, but there is something about this movie. If you watch this movie, Phil, I have made the joke before to you and at you that your inner child is dead, right? If you watch this movie and do not see how it is a totally and utterly universal love story, your inner romantic is dead. And I weep for you.
Yeah.
It is heartbreaking and uplifting and powerful, and maybe my favorite word that I could use to describe a movie that I don't often see used, and I see used in every review of this movie, delicate. It is like butterfly wing delicate. If any piece were out of place, it would fall apart, and it doesn't. I don't want to dwell on the Oscars because it's infuriating, but I will say this. This is nominated for Best Original Screenplay, and because other nominations, other races have not turned out the way I wanted them to, that's the one I'm hanging my hat on. That night will go. I mean, it will be a success or a failure, not based on me clearly.
Is it
but for
is
me,
it nominated for Best Picture as well?
I don't think so. I know.
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
But
that's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Spike
No, it's
Jonze,
not. The dumbest thing I've ever heard is coming up.
Right. Spike Jonze was nominated for Best Screenplay and Best Song, which I just love because he helped write that song. That it's see this
the
movie.
ukulele song. Oh.
Yes.
And you and I
See
both
this
play the
movie.
ukulele. I mean, it's
true.
like stop.
It's true. In fact, I have my ukulele here. Damn it! No, I don't.
So, do I acknowledge if this is on my top 10 list
Please
as
do.
well?
Please do.
Yeah, this is the next movie on my list.
Nice.
It is. Yes.
Yes.
Everything. You know what? The only thing I will add to that, I'll add 2 things. One, this is the movie that, to me, along with The Master, tells the world, if you don't think Joaquin Phoenix is one of the 2 or 3 greatest living actors, you have blinders on.
Yep.
You are not paying attention to the world.
Yes.
He is spectacular in this movie. And the other thing I will say is this is a wondrous movie. Like, wondrous. It was and wonderful. It was made me full of wonder. Like, I just sat there being like,
Yes.
so many things. We didn't even talk about the supporting cast. We're not talking about it. Okay, your next movie.
My next movie, I'm gonna roll the dice, say it's on your list too. Inside Llewyn Davis. This Phil, this was like, and understand the spirit in which I mean this. This was like the anti-Gravity for me, because I loved this movie, and it is clearly a masterpiece, and yet, because part of what the Coen brothers were trying to do with it was be off-putting, I don't know that I liked it. And so when I have a movie like Gravity, it's like, oh, I gotta get this on there, I can't. Inside Llewyn Davis was like, please give me a reason to take you off. Please give me, I have so many movies in the waiting room. Give me a reason to take you off. And I just couldn't. I couldn't find a reason to take it off.
It was the least enjoyable movie that I wished I could see over and over and over again. I
Well said. Well
I
said.
I mean, the music is so much fun, but the overall story, there's so much painfulness to it, and the way they decide to tell it, it's not fun.
Right. That's right.
It's not like, would you be like, what a fun time at the movies at
Oh.
Inside Llewellyn? No. You know what it was? It was engrossing. It was
Yes.
deeply, and it was one of two movies on my list that were just so deeply engrossing, though they were not entertaining by classical definitions of the word.
Yep.
You have hit on what is okay. Listen, this was the year where someone made a movie where that promised to be the movie that I would love more than anything, and then succeeded. Like, because everything about this movie, when I saw the trailer, including a trailer that had no words in it. Well, no, it did have some words in it, but the entire movie was scored by one Bob Dylan song from the beginning to the end of the song, and it just had little things happening throughout.
Yep.
And the imagery, the Coen Brothers imagery, and like John Goodman with the Burl Ives haircut and like the just
Right.
all that stuff. Like it just crushed me, and then it ended up living into that perfectly.
Yeah.
And but this is I would, if I had to, I could give you a top 3 for movies this year,
Okay.
and this would be in my top 3. I could not do a top 1, 2, and 3, but if
I
I had
gotcha.
to do a top 3, this would be in my top 3.
Fascinating.
So that's
I
all I'll say.
don't know that I don't know that I could do that, but I champion that impulse, and I love it, and I love you and that. Big fan.
Thank you.
So did I hit your next 2 with her?
You did hit my next 2 exactly. So do I just let you keep going, or do I go?
I mean, I guess if
my
we want to
next
stick to the S curve, do you have anything else you want to say about either of those 2 movies?
No, but no. Go ahead. You can list the next movie. I have a question.
Yeah,
Does your next movie start with an M?
it sure does.
Well, can I go then?
Please do.
I want to list one of these movies.
Of course you do. Please
Okay.
do it.
Go
nuts.
By the way, folks, Andy's and my top 10 lists, I knew there were going to be like a lot of similarities.
I'm actually
As of right now, I'm guessing we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to guess we have 5 of the same 10.
I might
That's my
actually guess a higher number than that, but
Interesting.
Yes.
Or as they say in France, interesting. It's not really- See what I did there? Okay.
Monsieur le Crab.
I got that. That's good, because I've got that joke because I've seen The Incredibles a dozen times in the last week.
I love it.
Okay. The next movie on our list is Mud. This is the second of the movies that I could put in my top 3, where if you said, is that your favorite movie, I would just say yes.
Sure. Yep.
This is a movie that I would show in a Bible study class. This is a movie that I would, well, I guess not in a Bible study class because it's not the Bible, but a movie that I would show in a church function, like about things where, like, spiritual things. This to me is a deeply spiritual movie. This to me is a deeply adventurous movie, and of all the movies that got tons of shafts, I guess it's not the most surprising. I was the most surprised with Inside Llewyn Davis when it comes to Oscars, but when it comes to awards in general, I wanted to see Mud, not just the Oscars, but just any recognition. I wanted to see Best Film, Best Director, Best Actor for The Kid.
For The Kid, come
on! The Best Supporting Actor for the SAG Awards Best Ensemble. The ensemble for this movie is beyond compare. This was the first incredible movie I saw of the year, too. It came out in May.
This was the first great movie of 2013.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a kid in this movie whose character's name is Neckbone.
It is Neckbone.
And his nickname, obviously, is Neck. And
it works.
What's up, Neck? And it works. And, like, I don't get the feeling that that's all this kid can do.
Oh.
But he's perfect at it. And
it also has Michael Shannon. It also has Michael Shannon in his most laid back performance, which isn't hard to find.
That's true. That's true.
All he had to do was not strangle me with his eyes.
That's right. That's right.
I think this came out the same month as Man of Steel, which is kind of amazing to think about.
And within a few weeks of The Iceman, which was also I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't get to see that.
It's not a great movie, Spoiler, he's really intense in it.
What?
I know. But everyone in this movie, the two kids are glorious. Sarah Paulson, Reese Witherspoon, I forget the name of Ennis's dad, who is just wonderful. And Matthew McConaughey doing what Matthew McConaughey does, killing it as his job. He is.
Yeah. Well, now it's his job. I don't know where that came from.
You're right. Hey, no, I'm not gonna say failure to launch Matthew McConaughey or How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Matthew McConaughey was the guy killing it. But
Ray McKinnon. Ray McKinnon.
Do yourself a favor, folks. Find this guy on IMDb, Ray McKinnon, and then you're not going to know anything he's in, I don't think, or maybe you've seen him in stuff. Then just go watch Mud, because then you will have seen something he was in, and you will love it, and you will love him. Yeah. Sam Shepard. How good is Sam Shepard in this movie? Oh my God, everyone in this movie is amazing.
Andy, Joe Don Baker is in this movie.
So good. So good.
Yeah. Yep.
As one of the most quietly evil, tiny parts I've seen in quite a while. He has very few lines, very little presence physically, but his presence looms over the entire movie. And
Yep.
And
the moment you see him, you're like, oh, it's Joe Don Baker. This means that they're serious about the bad guy.
Yeah.
It's character acting casting at its best is really what it is.
There is a moment where he asks people to join him in something. That is the single most chilling thing I saw this year in the movies.
Dude.
It's devastating, like the implications of it. Spiritually, it's
I need to see this movie. I need to see this movie again, short.
Right,
like,
we gotta go
in short order.
This is the end. So that's my feeling about Mud. Go for it. Nice, love it. I am not within arm's reach, but I can see it from here.
Okay. No, you get the next one.
Okay, I'm guessing this is on your list too, although I don't know. This might not be.
Okay.
Nebraska.
Nebraska was the 10th film on my list.
Awesome.
If I had to pick a number 10 out of 10, it would be Nebraska. But it is on my list. Gosh, our list is going to be so similar.
Yes. Nebraska. Phil saw this movie first. Folks, this movie was directed by Alexander Payne, who you might know from The Descendants or About Schmidt or Election. Or what else has he done?
The Descendants, About Schmidt, Election, and Sideways.
Sideways, of course, Sideways.
Yep.
And I asked Phil if he liked it. He said, I did. I really did. It is the Alexander Payne-iest movie that Alexander Payne has ever made.
Yes.
It is tough. There are no easy characters to... There are easy characters to, shall we say, love, but not necessarily easy characters to like. It has maybe the most satisfying F-bomb in the movies this year.
Yes.
Yes. Just so
it's an F-bomb that deserves it. It's an F-bomb that I really hope single-handedly wins that woman an award. I am rooting for her for that category, and it is for that reason.
I love it. I support that. I totally support that. So yeah, and at its heart, it's a movie about a father and a son. And Bruce Dern has been, kicking butt for decades. He's great in this movie. But the revelation for me, no surprise, was Will Forte. Who, let's just say, he shows a little more depth of talent than he did in MacGruber.
And what's funny is when you read interviews with him, he's clearly like, I cannot believe they gave me this role.
That's right.
He didn't believe that he had it, and then he got it, and he still didn't believe it, and then he was just like, well, cool. And he's great. He's wonderful in this movie. Yes. He's a revelation.
Yeah.
He's a revelation in this film. And Bruce Dern just gives, Bruce Dern gives his Bruce Dern-iest performance. It's the role that was meant for him. Apparently, when Alexander Payne signed on to do this movie 10 years ago,
what?
He had Bruce Dern in mind, and Bruce Dern said yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did he ask him 10 years ago, and then they waited, or did he?
I mean, that's what I mean. He was like, "I want Bruce Dern for this movie," and Bruce Dern's like, "Yeah, I'm in that movie." And then he just was like, "All right, well, I have a couple of things I need to do first." 10 years later.
Awesome, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Speaking of satisfying things besides the F-bomb, maybe the most satisfying punch in the movies this year.
Yes. Yeah. It was. Yes.
It is.
Yes.
It is a movie that is tough, and not tough like 12 Years a Slave tough, but just like tough like you really have to like consider what you think of these people and the situation they're in, and yet it is so satisfying.
Yeah.
Just like, and I say it without necessarily spoiling whether or not it's uplifting or even if it can be reduced to that term in terms of the ending, but like there are moments that you're just like, it is just so fitting. It is meat. It is meat that, to use a Shakespearean term, it is meat.
Yeah.
That thing that just happened the way it did.
Do you want to know something hilarious?
Tell me.
Well, at my church, we have two different services, and we have one in Old English and one in New English. So I say that something is meat once a week.
Awesome.
Like,
awesome.
So you were like Shakespearean, and I was like, I guess. Like, I mean, you're right, but it's like, sure.
Or me.
But I use it every week, so it's fine.
Me.
It is, we say it is meat, it is very meat, right, and our bound in duty.
Love it.
It's like, yeah. And then people are like, why are they talking like that? And then like the lady comes in with like turkey legs for sale, wearing a big old. Anyways, so okay, next movie on the list here, Andy. Is it my turn or your turn to listen?
It can be your turn because I keep saying, and I'm going to guess that it's a movie that I have on mine.
Well, do you go straight from the N's to the S's?
You know what, Phil? I do.
Ladies and gentlemen, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth in a row movie that we have the same.
Indeed.
I think that we should do like a at the end, like the whatever movies we both said. Those are the lockstep. Like these are the movies for the Second Breakfast Recommends wholeheartedly category.
Totally.
Short Term 12. This is my baby.
Yeah.
This movie feels like my baby. I feel personal about this movie. It made me want to live my life differently. It is the movie that I walked out of saying, this is why people make movies. This is the movie that I managed. It managed to be every bit as difficult as Nebraska and Inside Llewyn Davis, except that I enjoyed it the whole time. This is the movie that, which isn't in any way a knock on Inside Llewyn Davis or Nebraska.
No, but it's still telling.
They made you feel exactly what they wanted you to feel. I mean, it's really amazing what they did with those movies, and the cojones they had to do that. Short Term 12 came out of nowhere and then went nowhere, and now it's gone. And it is a movie that 20 years from now people are going to look back on and go, okay, Brie Larson, okay, this director. I don't even know who the director is. Like, this is one of those movies that single-handedly will make me pay attention to every single thing that everybody that's in this movie does from here on out.
Yes.
Example.
Yeah.
There is. Have you watched the TV show Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
I haven't, but I want to.
Well, there is a quite a fetching Latina cop on the show who's got a crazy personality and is like super angry all the time, which I love. And I think she's quite fetching and very funny. But what's funny is when I saw her, I was like, oh my God, I know her from somewhere. I looked her up. She's like the fourth adult lead on Short Term 12.
Awesome.
And I was like, no, that can't be it. Because I just know her so well. It can't be from that. And I looked at the rest of her filmography and I was like, nope, the only thing I've seen her in is this. That's how well developed, that's how perfectly developed this movie is.
I don't know the future.
All day long.
Sadly. I don't know the future.
You jerk.
Because if I did, Phil, we'd be talking about lotto tickets.
You need to read the Book of Revelations.
Nice. Or at the very least, Biff's sports betting handbook.
That's it right there.
I don't know the future, but I can tell you the last time I felt about a movie and a performance the way I felt about Short Term 12 and Brie Larson performance. And it was a little film called Winter's Bone and Jennifer Lawrence. It is, I honestly don't know if Winter's Bone was like her first role.
Yeah.
But I watched this movie and I said Jennifer Lawrence is going to be a star, and everyone was like, who? And then people saw it, and they're like, oh no, she's totally going to be a star. If there is any justice in the world, Brie Larson will get, and it is not her first performance. She's been in a bunch of things. If there's any justice in the world, her performance in Short Term 12 will open doors for her.
But Winter's Bone, it's amazing because when Jennifer Lawrence has this quality that's like glamour. And I'm not saying Brie Larson can't be glamorous, but I almost feel like Brie Larson may end up being like the Catherine Keener of her generation, where she's just in everything and amazing in everything, and no one ever gives her a flippant award for anything. And maybe. Well said. I hope not. I hope she gets to the level you're talking, because this was my single favorite performance of the year.
Me too.
Her performance was my single favorite performance of the year.
Me too. The only one that comes close for me is McConaughey and Mud.
And the only one that comes close to me, for me, is probably Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street.
It's certainly in my top five,
it's
along with Oscar Isaac and Lauren Davis. And,
yes. But yes, I hear what you're saying. And McConaughey and Mud should have been nominated for 1,000 Things. Agreed.
Yes,
so
agreed.
This is my favorite performance of the year. Just I loved it. Okay.
It is.
All right.
It's and they're and lest you think we are just talking about a really good performance. At least 2 of the top 5 moments in this movie, no, more than that, 3 of the top 5 moments in this movie, Brie Larson isn't on screen for.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Like, it is a perfect movie. It's a perfect movie. See Short Term 12. It's out on streaming and home video and all of this stuff. See it. It's beautiful.
Andy, what's the next movie that's on both of our lists?
The Spectacular Now?
Yes. So we are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row.
I'm comforted by the fact that the last 2 movies that I have, you will not have on your list. So
you know what? That makes me super sad for you.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Fair enough. The Spectacular Now. In a year that was at the very worst, really, really solid for young adult and teenage movies.
Yeah.
This one stood out. This one stood out among the pack because of the 2 lead performances, Shailene Woodley and Miles Teller. Miles Teller, yet another snub. I mean, both of them were snubbed, but he really, it's about everything. It's about everything. It's about love.
We had heard of Shailene Woodley before from The Descendants.
Yes.
This guy came out of nowhere for me.
He was in Project X, that terrible found footage, and he had like a 5-minute part. It's terrible.
But I'm not saying he's never done anything before.
No, I know.
I'm just saying he came out of nowhere.
Yes, agreed. And you've got who is the mom? You've got Kyle Chandler playing the only heel he'll ever play in his life, and he's just wretched.
Perfect.
You've got Bob Odenkirk. It is
beautiful performance by Bob Odenkirk.
Yes.
Do you know who's good in this movie?
Everybody. That's true.
And it doesn't answer. It asks difficult questions and then doesn't give answers, or doesn't give easy answers.
Including Brie Larson. Brie Larson is good in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
But there's no pat answers in this movie. There's no No, it's just deeply special. It's a deeply special movie.
Yes.
It's a movie that feels like.
It's funny and sweet and moving and powerful and yet it shows just the lightest of touches. It is the movie that I think I can say this. The movie besides Her this year that I would most readily describe as delicate. If that makes any sense.
I think what I loved about it was to have a movie where the word spectacular is in it and then the movie is spectacular.
Yeah.
I was like, well, way to call your shot.
Right. Call him a shot. Jennifer Jason Leigh. I don't know why I couldn't remember her name. As Miles Teller's mom. is just heartbreaking and wonderful, and
Yeah.
it's just a great movie. It's
What's
just,
next?
I mean, you know what? It's on our list. It's on
It's on both our lists. All right, so what are your last two that are not on my list?
Well, I have 3 to go. I have 3 movies to go.
Oh, I only have 2 to go. How strange. Okay, so do one more, and then we'll go to my 2.
Okay.
And
The
your
Wolf
2.
of Wall Street.
Yes.
The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes.
If you have not seen this movie and you're hearing it glorifies the excesses of Wall Street and the people that brought the country and the world's economy to its knees, stop listening to the people who said that to you. It is
right.
They
are not your friends.
They are not your friends. I mean, and let's stay out of finance and politics here. They're not your friends because they're guiding you away from good movies. What's the matter with you? Hang out with better people.
I'll go further. This movie is the most deeply prophetic movie I have seen in years. It is a movie that is so prophetic about who we are as a culture, as Americans, as people. This is not, and I don't say that in some sort of like, this is not a Republican versus Democrat movie or a socialist versus capitalist movie. It's not. It is not partisan. It is not. It is not. It is just. It is just.
Yep. Yes.
I just. It is, and it has some of the most amazing performances. It just has some of the most amazing performances.
Everyone's good in it.
Jonah Hill is phenomenal in this movie.
Yes.
I mean, Jonah Hill takes it to the next level for his career.
Yep.
Kyle Chandler is lovely in this movie. Yes. Leonardo DiCaprio, the woman, she does what she's supposed to do. I don't know her name. She's talented, but her main thing is to be eye candy, and she is. And that might be, if there's a flaw in this movie, like, it's that. So
interesting. Okay. All right. Margot Robbie is
yeah, and I'm not saying she's a flaw. I'm saying if there's a flaw in the movie, it's that character is not actually developed. But
I thought that was sort of the point. I'm not disagreeing. That's not
you're probably right.
You're
probably right, and that's why I said. By the way, I said if.
Right.
First of all,
right.
This is my favorite comedy of the year.
Sure.
This is the funniest movie of the year.
Sure.
This is the funniest movie of several years. This is the funniest movie that Martin Scorsese has ever made. This is. I mean, there's just so many things.
Yes.
So,
the best thing I can say about it, I'm certain I've said this to you, Phil. There is a scene. It is a 3-hour movie, and lest you shy away from seeing this movie because of its length, fully 2 hours into this movie, the length of a regular movie into this movie, there is a scene involving physical comedy and Leonardo DiCaprio that I could have watched an entire movie of.
It's the funniest thing I've seen in years. It is so funny. It is so funny.
And I'll tell you this. I'm saying that because it's true for me, but I got that pretty much verbatim out of a review that I read. So it's not just me. Like, other people have that opinion too. It is a ridiculous, in all the best ways, scene. It is a ridiculous, in all the best ways, movie. See it. Just see it. It's amazing. Give me your last two, or if that's
okay. Well, Wolf of Wall Street was my last one, so my second to last one was The Way Back.
Awesome.
And I assume this is in your honorable mentions. I'm sad for you that it's not in your top 10. It might be in my. It's not in my top 5. It is in my top 10 justly though, and it is. You know what? We talked about The Way Back like 1,000 times on this podcast. This is a movie with a heart the size of Oklahoma. It's the biggest hearted movie I've seen.
Yep.
It's just got a huge heart, and it's about like it channels frustration, the frustration of a teenager so beautifully, and then gives him a place to grow and release in a way that's so. It's positive. Like it's a movie like you could show people and be like, see, look, it's not all terrible in the world. Sam Rockwell is a career highlight performance for him.
Yep.
And Steve Carell does a wonderful, just proves that he is just as much a dramatic actor as anybody. Toni Collette, Allison Janney, the kid who's in it, whose name I don't know, I don't care, is so good. Right. But Nat Faxon and Jim Rash wrote this movie. They also wrote The Descendants.
Yes.
And they wrote and directed this, and they are now just keep doing things, guys.
Please keep doing it. Yes.
Maya Rudolph. I love Maya Rudolph.
She is so good in this movie.
Put Maya Rudolph in all movies.
And
I like her that much.
Dude, I agree with you. And if I can, if I can be totally chintzy for a second, when I was working at Balthazar in New York City, she and Paul Thomas Anderson would come in.
Were they together? Were they a couple?
They were and are, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Lovely. Okay.
Yes, and they didn't. They would sometimes come in together. They more often came in separately, strangely, but like at least once a week they would come in together. And hands down, the nicest. Either they were the nicest, or like Kelly Ripa and what's her husband's name, Mark Dacascos, just like the nicest people ever. So I want nothing but good things for Maya Rudolph's acting career. And I want nothing but good things for the other three people I just mentioned as well. But Maya Rudolph, especially after this and Away We Go, come on.
Come on, everybody. Come on, world.
Everybody. Get on the Maya Rudolph train.
The Way Back had some of the most satisfying moments of the year for me.
Yes. Yes.
And more than one. Really just deeply satisfying moments. And the relationship between Sam Rockwell and the kid should raise eyebrows, but manages not to. Manages to be right at that place where an adult male can be friends with a teenage boy in a way that just feels perfectly right.
Which and it's somehow right for both of them at the same time.
Yes.
It's what each of them needed.
Yes.
I will also say this, something very interesting, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but something I loved about Steve Carell's performance. He is a total jerk, and I'm not sure he says one thing in the movie that's wrong.
I have to think about that.
Nothing that stands
factually
out.
Inaccurate, you mean?
Yes.
I have to think about that a lot. Okay.
Because, and again, this is not spoiling anything, because his deal is like, to the kid, man up, basically. Basically is sort of like the way he wants to interact with this kid.
When he makes him wear the life vest.
Oh.
He's the most villainous guy of the year next to Joe Don Baker in mine.
It's true. It's true.
Okay. So tell me about your last movie?
Last two.
Last two movies. I know one of them for sure.
You do. The World's End. The finale of the Blood and Ice Cream trilogy, or the three Cornetto flavor Cornetto trilogy. It's the movies brought to you by Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, and Nick Frost. The first two were Shaun of the Dead, which was my favorite movie of that year, Hot Fuzz, which, if not my favorite movie of that year, was one of them, and this one, which is one of my favorite movies of this year. My favorite movie of the three will always be Shaun of the Dead, because I'm a zombie movie freak. And because Hot Fuzz, it's not that it's not perfect, it's just that I've seen that movie before. I've seen funny action movies before. Yeah. The World's End is a miracle, because it is somehow, while it's not going to be my favorite, and I think you'd struggle saying it was the best, if whatever objective best means, it's not the tightest. There are flaws in it, and yet I wouldn't change a thing. It is the most mature of the three movies, and I don't mean that as some sort of like it's not very good, but at least it's mature, you know. There's this song from the musical Pippin that's basically like, man, doesn't it suck to be known for like having a really good moral fiber? It's like, I don't mean it that way. I mean, like, these are people who know themselves, and they're not 20 anymore, and they're not 30 anymore. No. And it's
their version of a grown-up movie.
That's right. That's right. It is,
which is funny because it's an incredibly adolescent conclusion.
That's right. That's right. The world is simultaneously saved and doomed because one guy is kind of a d-bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it had to end that way. And Nick Frost finally, as much as I love his performances in the other two movies, he finally gets to act, like stretch his acting muscles a bit. And Simon Pegg does as well, because he plays a guy that is not only hard to love but hard to like.
Yep.
Eddie Marsan getting work. Patty Considine. Eddie Marsan, who actually started as a comedian, but I know from just unbelievably sad roles in Mike Leigh movies, and Paddy Considine, who is an Irish actor who just
he's in America, and
Which
he's
is-
just oh
he's a fabulously talented actor, and in this and Hot Fuzz, he gets to be silly, and he's glorious at it.
yes.
And Martin
yes.
Freeman,
Yeah.
who I love full stop in everything.
He's perfect all the time.
Uh,
Give the man everything.
yes, Rosamund Pike is fantastic.
Yep.
He's just
She is. I'm looking forward to more from her in the
too.
world.
Me too. So that's I could talk forever about The World's End, but I want to move on. We're getting long in the tooth, so I will say the last movie, alphabetically, might be the best science fiction movie I saw this year, and one that I knew was never going to show up on Phil's list. A movie called Upstream Color.
Well, it wasn't going to show up on my list because I didn't see it.
That's right. No aspersion. Casual.
Also, U comes before W in the alphabet, Andy.
Oh, it totally does. Yep, that's me.
Okay, there you go.
I don't like math or spelling.
There you go.
You know what I did? You know what I did there? I mean, I won't pretend that I also didn't screw up the spelling, but what I did there was I was like, I'm going to forget Upstream Color, and I'm going to kick myself if I don't. So I put it at the end, and I was like, and then of course the T in the for I had The Spectacular Now, and yes, Upstream would have come after that, but then The Wolf of Wall Street and The World's End. C'est la vie.
Upstream Color is streaming, I believe.
It is.
You all could watch it right now. Nothing is stopping you but your own problems,
This
including
dude
myself.
named Shane Carruth. He's made 2 movies, both of which are science fiction, both of which are not like pew pew, like laser beams. And his first movie was called Primer. It's about time travel, and it simultaneously gives you the feeling that you'd have to watch it 20 times to understand it even a little bit, and yet is not infuriating.
Okay.
And Upstream Color is the same way, except instead of being about time travel, the impenetrable science fiction aspect is, for lack of a more specific term, genetic manipulation. And it is
Sure.
it is impossible to describe, except that it was just haunting and beautiful and powerful and amazing and totally unforgettable while being really difficult to get.
Oh boy.
It was like, it's been like 10 years between 2 movies. Shane, please don't let it be 10 years before your next movie.
Seriously.
You are literally worthy of being called a genius. Your 2 movies are spectacular. Please make more of them.
All right, there you go.
Very briefly, shall we give them our honorable mentions?
Yes, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 honorable mentions.
Hit me.
Captain Phillips.
Okay?
Tom Hanks was robbed this year. Don John.
Nice.
The Heat.
Nice.
Melissa McCarthy was robbed this year.
Nice.
Should have been nominated for Best Actress. There, I said it. Monsters University was robbed this year. A very underrated Pixar movie that I only fell in love with after watching a dozen times because of my daughter.
Sure.
But once I fell in love with it, I'm like, no, this is a special movie. Room 237. So happy to mention this movie again in my life. Just a phenomenal documentary and a terrifying piece of reality. The World's End.
Point of order. I think Room 237 was a 2012 movie.
It was officially produced in 2012, but it was released to the public in 2013.
Fair enough. Okay.
The World's End.
Mm-hmm.
This is the End.
Mm-hmm.
My preference for the apocalyptic movies that came out this year, which should show you the difference between Andy and I's personalities. And finally, Warm Bodies.
Awesome.
That's my list. What's your honorable? Yes.
I don't think we had a single movie the same on honorable mentions.
That's craziness.
I know. Again, it's out of alphabetical order, but I gotta say it again. Gravity, so hard to leave off my list.
And yet you did.
And yet I did. 12 Years a Slave. Just a phenomenal movie.
Haven't seen it.
It's right. I think that's going to be the reason most of these were left off of your list. 12 Years a Slave. I mean, if I have a complaint about it, I don't know if folks out there. I don't know how many of you watched the Golden Globes, but there was a joke during the monologue where Amy Poehler goes, 12 Years a Slave. I will never look at slavery the same way again. And Tina Fey goes, wait, how did you look at slavery before?
Right.
And Amy goes, what are you in television?
Right.
So if I have a complaint, it's that at the end of the day, yes, it's an extremely brutal look at slavery, but you know what? It isn't right being there. It isn't.
Right.
Because it just isn't.
Right.
And what you're left with is a movie filled with performances that literally could not be better, and a slavery movie that has a weirdly, not weirdly because it's a true story, but like, for such a brutal movie, you went into it knowing it would have an uplifting ending.
Yes. Okay.
And then you're left with slavery is bad. That was sort of...
I hear what you're saying, though.
Also, apparently I'm a racist. Moving on.
I mean, yes.
Yeah. Moving on, American Hustle. David O. Russell, man, you make good movies. It's just a shame your awesome crime comedy came out within a month of Wolf of Wall Street. Dallas Buyers Club. Not an amazing movie. Apparently, Matthew McConaughey's character was not actually the homophobe that he was portrayed as. He might have actually been bisexual, which sort of makes the entire movie fall apart. However, he and Jared Leto give two of the best performances of the year.
Right.
Enough said. James Gandolfini.
Didn't get to see it.
Perfect, heartbreaking, and not just because he is now sadly no longer with us. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, amazing. Catherine Keener, amazing. This movie is wonderful. And actually romantic. Frances Ha, tiny movie about a woman who can't find herself in her 20s in New York, and yet it's not infuriating even though I lived it. Both with my friends who are female and the fact that I am strangely female. It's
I've already seen. I watch
charming.
Girls, so aren't I all set?
You know what? I'll say this. No, it's that good. Okay. Frozen. Don't need to say anything more. It's a wonderful movie. Fruitvale Station. Amazing. Just amazing performances by what's her name? Octavia Spencer and
Michael B. Jordan.
And Michael B. Jordan, who is, I mean, he's my jam. I love the kid. The Hunt, a Danish movie, which apparently will not win Best Foreign Film because there's an Italian movie, The Great Beauty or The Beautiful Earth or The Great Beautiful Earth World, something, that's supposed to be fantastic. The Hunt is about a guy who is wrongly accused of sexually abusing one of his kindergarten students, and sort of, they're just totally false. And how it destroys his life. It's not an easy movie to watch, but Mads Mikkelsen is phenomenal. In a World, a charming movie about voiceovers for movie trailers. Much Ado About Nothing. Joss Whedon doing his Joss Whedoniest best on Shakespeare, and honestly, they could have called the movie Andy at that point. Joss Whedon plus Shakespeare equals Andy. The Place Beyond the Pines. A movie that if the year had ended in July or even September, would have been in my top 5. Ryan Gosling is amazing. Bradley Cooper is amazing. Eva Mendes is phenomenal, and Dane DeHaan, who you will next see if you see this movie as Harry Osborn in the next Spider-Man movie, is just one of the most talented actors out there, and he's like -3 years old. And finally, along with Phil, I loved The Way, Way Back. And that's my look back at 2013. And your look
Ladies
back
and
at
gentlemen,
2013.
The year 2013. You're welcome.
Folks, we'll end here because we've been going on for a really long time. But this has been... But let us know what you think. Hit us back at secondbreakfastpodcast@gmail.com or let us know what you think on Facebook. And that'll do it for this episode of Second Breakfast Podcast. I'm Andy Roth, and that's Phil Duvall. We'll see you again real soon. Bye.
Bye.
The most important meal of the day, second